Welcome to Buffalo After Dark, everybody. It's your Wednesday night uncensored, unfiltered, and unafraid sports show. You still up? This episode of Buffalo After Dark starts now. Welcome to Buffalo After Dark, everybody. It is Wednesday night, December 21st, and this will be our last show for about 2 weeks because it is our yearly Christmas special. So, of course, if you want to jump on and talk to us tonight, you're welcome to at 929-205-6099, and of course, it'll be a quick hour or so, maybe a little bit longer, who knows, but Bob, it is nice to see you again, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. Merry Christmas, Tom, first off, and hopefully you and your family have a wonderful holiday coming this weekend. I know you guys have a storm coming up on Friday, and then the Bills are going to be playing on Christmas Eve against the Bears, and the Sabres game just got postponed on Friday to March because of the storm.
Yeah, and I was going to say, for those here in the Buffalo area, definitely keep an eye out on everything because from what they're saying right now, it's basically what's called a bomb cyclone scenario, but the wind chill is going to be dangerously cold with 70-plus mile-an-hour winds, and plus you figure anywhere up to a foot of snow, and the big consensus is it's going to be blizzard-like conditions, so if you don't have to be out, don't be out. But in the meantime, you got us to keep you company.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's Christmas. Might as well enjoy ourselves to the best we can. I got my little Santa hat on, as you can tell. I mean, it's Christmas time and a little festivity in the background here. So I guess things are looking nice and bright.
Yeah, and then of course I'll just be finish up next couple days of work, take some time off. Got the legendary whitetail shirt going on, and actually gonna crack open a fresh beer for you guys. So actually I picked this up at a store tonight here in the Buffalo area, but it is a collaboration between the Bills Mafia Babes, Resurgence Brewery, and 26 Shirts. It is called Big Berry Beane. So let's see what this is like, and hopefully I like it.
Well, we're going to have a taste test for the first time for our Christmas special. Here we go.
There we go. That's actually good.
Is it?
It's a little different. It's a berry sour, actually. So it's, with what it's got, it's, they say that this one is blackberry, blackcurrant, and blueberry mixed together.
Interesting.
And they say that the blueberry adds a little bit of a bite, but it's really good. You know, so good job, man.
You know what I suggest? Are you a fan of like hot chocolate?
Yeah.
Good, because I have a recipe for you. It's not mine originally, but I will tell you now. When I went to the Patriots game a few weeks ago, right, on the Thursday night game, we met a Bills fan that was one of the bartenders that works at Gillette Stadium. And the guy, because we were Bills fans, because we were holding a mug that's about this big and has Pat the Patriot on it, he ends up putting Jameson whiskey in our hot chocolate. And it actually was really damn good.
Yeah, Jameson's good. Yeah, Jameson's good stuff. I've had that.
Yeah,
before.
It was for free as well. So that was a great game overall. We got free whiskey with hot chocolate.
Even better, man. Nothing like a little bit of Jameson, or actually one of the things that I'll even drink straight up is I'll take a shot of Jim Beam anytime, or even like a good shot of Jack Daniels, which that's actually probably one of my all-time favorites that I've ever had.
I might even make it during the Bills game on Saturday when they play the Bears. So because I know people are going to be drinking, so I figure, if people are going to be drinking, I might as well just go get some whiskey, Jameson, and make some hot chocolate and pour some down the middle and drink it during the Bills game.
There you go. That's good stuff. Yeah, and
Sure.
I've got the Keurig here, so it's real quick to make hot chocolate. So, so it's big plus. But
it's good stuff, actually. I will say that
it is. Yeah, and actually, it's really cool to see some of the Bills themed beers that are out here now. Also, it's this is actually one that I found, but I ended up finding like a Josh Allentown beer earlier tonight, and then there was also a Buffalo Pils, which is a Pilsner, so that'll be fun to try out. And then I ended up picking up a Bills Lager also, so I actually kind of covered like 4 different types of beer in one day. So it's like a Pilsner, an IPA, a Lager, and a berry sour.
Yeah, damn right. That's what you want to do. It's the holiday season.
Hmm.
'Tis the season.
Yes, absolutely. So, but what we'll do, let's go ahead and we'll kick it off. So, anyone wants to jump on 92920560099. Let's start out with the Buffalo Sabres first because they're above 500, and they actually ended up sweeping their West Coast road trip. So, not only did they get the wins in Arizona, they also got a win in Vegas, and the other one was what, LA?
Yeah, the one in LA was in Buffalo.
I'm sorry. So, I'm like spacing out on one of the games.
Yeah, that's true. Because they had the 6-0 massacre against the Kings last week before they went on the road trip. And let me think here for a minute. So they beat LA, which they're a top team in the Pacific. They beat Vegas just a couple of nights ago. They beat Colorado, and they beat Arizona.
That's the other one, the Colorado game, because I did manage to catch part of that, and I mean I did catch the Arizona game after the fact too. And I mean I'll tell you, this team, they're starting to click on their cylinders there, and they're actually looking pretty good. Tage Thompson definitely helping carry the team. Good to see Jeff Skinner back after being suspended for that cross check. But I also got to bring up the fact UPL actually looked good in net against the Golden Knights.
Yeah, for once in his life, he actually looks like a decent starter.
Yeah, and let's take a look at it. I mean, Vegas hasn't looked all that well. Vegas didn't look all that great in that game. Arizona just looked like trash. I mean, Arizona, they couldn't even get anything started. And Colorado was a good team, and the Sabres were just able to get out to a quick start again. And it seems like that's what they're doing in many cases. The quick start is helping them out. And even when they played LA prior to the road trip, I mean, LA is a solid team, but LA, from what I've seen though, as of late, they haven't been playing their best hockey lately.
No, they haven't. But it's weird because the Yotes have been beating all the Eastern Conference teams like they're, a Stanley Cup contender when they're not. They're just garbage. But they just happen to beat teams like the Islanders, the Bruins, the Panthers, etc. Mm-hmm. And then they play the Sabres, and the Sabres just manhandled it like it was nothing.
Yeah, and it almost makes me wonder. It's almost like there's two total opposites of the Sabres. They're either really good when they get off to that quick start, and they're finding ways to keep it going, even if they do let a few goals against, or you get the polar opposite where they're not playing that good, and it's not for lack of effort. It's just they're not getting off to that quick start in some cases.
I don't understand that at all. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they are getting the jump starts. They are getting the pucks in the net, and they're arguably the best scoring team in the league.
Yeah,
somehow.
Yeah, I mean, something like a plus 14 differential or somewhere around there. I mean, it's good to see, and the fact is, I mean, they've got a winning record right now, like 30 some games in. So, I mean, here we are, practically a third through the season, and they're not that far out of a playoff spot.
The only problem is they got to play the Islanders, or they got to catch up with the Islanders, or they got to catch up with the Rangers. The problem is they're both playing each other tomorrow night at the Garden, so it's going to be a little more challenging than it is. I definitely expect them to catch up to Washington, though. That I could definitely see, and they're somehow better than the Florida Panthers.
Right, which that's actually been a surprise this season because I expected more out of Florida.
And I knew this was coming. I knew immediately when they traded for Matthew Tkachuk. I said to you before the season, I don't think the Florida Panthers are going to be as good as they were a season ago. I mentioned that to you. Didn't I say that?
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it a little bit when we were going over some of the different deals and stuff earlier in the season. And Florida is just underperforming.
And one of the comments I said was the Florida Panthers are not going to be as good on paper once they trade for Tkachuk. Because trading Huberdeau was their biggest mistake they made, and trading Mackenzie Weegar was another issue because they're having issues on both issues of the ice. They can't score on offense, and they can't stop on defense. They can't do anything.
Right. It's very true. And it's interesting because even when I look back at some of the other articles about it, the USA Today was claiming, the Panthers are the winners of that trade with Tkachuk. And it's like right now, on paper they might be, but on the actual ice they're not.
No, you know what it is? It's all hype. That's really what it is. The Florida Panthers are they're just a below average team in my opinion. I think it's just because it comes down to the system and it comes down to whoever is the coach. Because at the end of the day, you could put the Panthers in any situation with how they can improve. Mm-hmm. I thought they had a good team last year.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they trade for Tkachuk because he bitched about it, said, I'm not staying in Calgary. And then he all of a sudden says, I'm going to go to a team that's going to pay me. And on the night of my wedding, he gets traded to the Florida Panthers.
Right. And initially, a lot of us thought, hey, this could be a good thing. But then in reality, it really wasn't the best thing. And,
No.
and right now, Florida's basically in the hot seat. They're not performing very well.
Yeah, and they're paying him $8.5–9 million.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, straight up.
It's a lot of money, but you got to make up for it. Matthew Tkachuk, like I said, he's a good player. He takes hits, he scores goals, but he can block shots too. But the Florida Panthers are just really underachieving this year.
Yeah, and then even when we look at what happened on the road trip, I mean, against Colorado is a solid team out west, and the fact that we were able to manhandle them the way that we did. I mean, the fact that, of course, they've got McKinnon, you got Landeskog, you got all those star players on that team, and we just flat out gave them no mercy. And that's one of those things, when you have a young club like the Sabres are, that's awesome to see that. You're manhandling a top team, especially out in the West, because I typically think a lot of the teams out West, in many cases, are going to be tougher to deal with than what you have here in the East.
Absolutely, without a doubt about that. I can make the argument about Colorado. Colorado was in the same situation for a while. I understand losing Kadri because they couldn't afford him, and I understand that they're not as good as they were a year ago when they won the Cup. But at the same time, they're having injury issues, and I think Nathan McKinnon's going to be injured. He's on IR until at least after Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking after Christmas, by the way, this could very well be a blessing, because they don't have to get embarrassed by Tampa on Friday. Mm-hmm. And the next game after Christmas is Columbus.
Right. And Columbus has been a dumpster fire this year.
And then after that, they play Detroit.
Right, which Detroit, they're starting to go up, but they're not a great team.
No, I mean, I think they can. I think they can evenly match it with the Sabres, but again, they just gotta just stick to their plan, stick to their guns, and then the Red Wings will be a good team. The Sabres are on the same track.
Yeah, very true. And just even looking at the injury list for Colorado, it's absolutely insane how many players they've got out right now. I mean, you have Cogliano out with an undisclosed injury, and that was actually announced on the 19th. Jean-Luc Foudy, lower body injury day-to-day. Nathan McKinnon, he's out with the upper body. Lehkonen, upper body, he's day-to-day. Josh Manson's out. Rodriguez is out. Bowen Byram is out. Curtis McDermott is out. I mean, the list goes on and on. And actually, Shane Bowers was another one, and then Valeri Nikushin. So,
what about Gabriel Landeskog? Is he on that list?
No. Last time he was on the injury list was back in September. And that was a knee injury.
Yeah, and Vegas just sucks at home.
Yeah, they don't have home ice advantage this year.
No, and if they don't, they're screwed.
Yeah, exactly.
What was I going to say? And supposedly there's a rumor going around they're going to be playing in the Winter Classic in 2024 against the Seattle Kraken.
Yeah, which, if that happens, be interesting to see how it plays out. But let's jump into that, because, of course, we had that come out. But just all around the NHL, I mean, I would say some of the things we thought about earlier in the season are coming to fruition. Some of them are not. I mean, in a lot of ways, I mean, Washington has underperformed a little bit. The Islanders are right where we thought they would be in many respects. The Rangers are playing tough. The Devils are playing, I think, better than what we thought of this season.
Not lately, no.
Well, right. But, I mean, they got off to a better start than what we thought. The Avs are doing okay. The Kings have kind of gone backwards a little bit. Arizona's Arizona.
And the Blackhawks somehow are the front runners to get Connor Bedard.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird to me.
Yeah, it's just all over the place with like some of the different things that we've seen, some of the different scenarios, and then of course if Luffy was to be on, I mean he could tell you all about the Toronto Maple Leafs this season, because that's been a little bit all over also.
Nah, fuck the Leafs. Because you know what? They don't deserve any praise that they've got coming along their way. Because that's just, in honesty, the Leafs, they're a good team, but they're just the Dallas Cowboys of the NHL. They go out and spend money, and they have such an amazing regular season, and yet they choke it away in the playoffs every April.
Yeah. And then even looking at the Habs, I mean, Montreal, I mean, there's a few players that are actually playing better than expected, and let's take a look. Kirby Doc, Sean Monahan's playing better. Mike Hoffman's playing a little bit better. I mean, who would have thought with their coaching change that they would be where they're at this point? I mean, they're not entirely a horrible team.
No, not at all. But you know what's interesting? I read a stat from Bleacher Report's Open Ice on Twitter. They said Tage Thompson is the first player not named Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl to hit 50 points this season.
Yeah, and that's crazy because he's been on fire and he has really emerged as a top player. He really has. And I mean, let's look at it. 20 plus goals already. His plus minus is in great shape. He's setting up for assists. He's doing the work that a lot of people thought he wouldn't necessarily be able to do after that O'Reilly trade, but he's really broken out last year, but even more so this year. I mean, what is it, 25 goals already?
Something like that. Maybe more, like 26, maybe 27 at most.
Yeah, but he's just playing lights out right now. He's playing the best hockey I've ever seen him play.
Yeah, did you hear from Elliot Freeman a couple of days ago saying that the Sabres almost traded him a few years ago for a fifth-round pick, but they didn't want to do it because it wasn't, high in price?
Yeah, I remember seeing a little bit about that, and it's a good thing they didn't.
Yeah, because then if that was the case, the Sabres would be right back where they started.
Yeah, exactly. And now we've actually got some pretty good line combinations coming up. So, I mean, that's a huge thing. But still going into what we've seen this season, goaltending is still a question, and the defense is still a question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really worried about goaltending in the near future because Devin Levi's coming up, and then UPL might be a stellar. There was even some compilation that Eric Comrie is willing to go down to the AHL to make room for UPL because he may have just earned the starting job over Comrie. I feel like Comrie hasn't shown enough to really say, hey, I'm a pro NHL goaltender and I won the job despite being injured until mid-October.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, the little bit of work that we've seen Comrie do, I mean, he has shown some flashes, but same thing. I don't think he's earned that starting job just as of yet. I mean, I think really right now it's going to be UPL and Anderson. That's your best two goaltenders right there on this team, and I think for the time being, right. And I think give Anderson a good amount of starts, but let UPL play games, let him develop. And if he can turn into who we think he can turn into, then hey, that's great. But the other thing at the same time, give Devin Levi some starts. Let him play down in the AHL and all that. Give him a lot of playing time down there, and let him develop because he'll need that. But I do think Levi has a lot of good skill sets, and the Sabres are actually in a pretty good situation, at least on this, where yes, UPL had some setbacks because of injuries, but he has shown some flashes that he can play well. And Devin Levi, the little bit that we've seen of him, same thing. He's shown some really good flashes. So I think at least talent-wise, we're okay, but there's still some questions in terms of what's going to be best long-term. And that's a valid point that a lot of people have brought up, whether UPL is the man or if Devin Levi is going to be the man long-term. Only time will tell. But we know Anderson ain't going to play forever, and he has, maybe one more season after this or something before he decides to hang it up. I mean...
I think this is it for him, honestly, because he's getting up there in age, and you can't be the starter in the NHL for much, much longer. And the game itself is getting faster and stronger, and you need to have a combination of both. And for Andy to be in his 40s, I don't think he's going to be the guy.
Right. Or you have the extreme outlier of Jaromir Jagr being 50 years old and just started with another team and playing pro hockey again. I'm like, man, how is he still playing at that age?
I mean, in his defense, Tom, Jaromir Jagr doesn't give a fuck. Number one, he owns a pro team in Europe, and number two, he doesn't have any kids to cherish on, and he's not married, so he can do whatever the fuck he wants. And on top of all that, he plays for them, and he owns the team. You know what I mean? Right. And he doesn't have a consistent diet like NFL players do. He just says, "I just want my muffins, damn it." And then once he gets those muffins, it doesn't really matter in the end.
Yeah, but no, it's good to still see him, giving it all, though. I mean, he's still playing good, and he actually got some points in his first game back out of since joining again. So, I mean, that's pretty cool to see at least. But, that being said, a lot of interesting things that are coming up in the league, and actually with that, I mean, I know you mentioned that Winter Classic earlier. I mean, of course, we'll have the Winter Classic coming up in January, so be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, I mean, supposedly there's a rumor going around that the Seattle Kraken and the Vegas Golden Knights are going to be the two contestants to represent the NHL in the 2024 Bridgestone NHL Winter Classic. And I think it's in Seattle. I'm not 100% sure yet. We don't even know if it's real. That's number one.
Right. It's just rumors.
It's just a rumor, and we don't know for sure yet. And we're probably going to find out about it a little bit, maybe, I want to say, to like March. We're probably going to find out, because usually they come out with another matchup of the Winter Classic like 2 months after the actual event, or probably after the All-Star game. Could be sooner for all we know.
Yep. Yeah, but one thing we do know, though, what's going to come up at the beginning of the year, the 2023 Winter Classic, and that's going to be at Fenway Park, and that's going to be the Bruins versus the Penguins. And with what they ended up coming out with a couple days ago, they actually have the rendering for Fenway Park now, and it looks like it should be a pretty interesting setup. And then we also know that the Black Keys and Belle Biv DeVoe are going to be performing during the game, so...
Am I the only one to think this, Tom? Maybe you can help me out. Am I the only one that thinks the Bruins are the most spoiled team in the NHL when it comes to the Winter Classic? Because they've hosted this event now in 3 different areas now. They've hosted it now soon to be twice in Fenway Park and one at Gillette Stadium. All the Winter Classics they've ever participated in were in Boston, never anywhere else. You ever notice that?
Yeah, I have noticed that. I mean... And you have to figure with them, I mean, yeah, they are spoiled. Although the Sabres have done it twice. But keep in mind, once it was here at now what's known as Highmark Stadium, and then once it was at Citi Field that you went to actually a couple years ago.
Yeah, my wife and I went to the Winter Classic in Citi Field against the Rangers about 5 years ago. That was a hell of a lifetime opportunity, and I will never forget that. I got to tell you, man, we were... freezing our ass off. I was legit freezing my nuts off. No pun intended. And it was like -8 degrees at Citi Field. It was cold as shit. But it was worth it.
Surprised me, man.
And you know what's funny? I had this conversation the other day with my wife. And I go up to her and I said, what is it about going to a Bills game in another city, or in Buffalo for that matter, mind you, in January compared to the Winter Classic? And she's like, well, I'm used to it in January, because that's football, weather, and you have to get accustomed to it. And I'm like, well, what about the Winter Classic? Because, well, at that time, I wasn't really prepared for it. I wasn't really warmed up and all that. Well, I'm like, well, Britt, what did you expect it to happen? It was an outdoor hockey game, and it was only going to ever happen once, in this area at least.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and even looking back at some of the games I've gone to, I mean, I've been to some winter football games over at Highmark, and there have been times where I've been in the heated seats, and there's been times I haven't been, and it's all just about making sure, hey, you're in layers, you're comfortable, and just enjoying it. But actually, I thought that the outdoor games, especially this time of year, tended to be more fun than some of the ones earlier in the season.
Yeah, which is weird because a lot of the outdoor games in the NFL, that's like nothing new because that's designed to be played outdoors. Like as we went to Foxborough a few weeks ago, that was like below 30 at that point. It wasn't negative, but it was just below 30 degrees. And it was freezing out too. We were bundled up, all warmed up and bundled like we were going to Antarctica. It was that freaking cold in Foxborough. But we survived the 3-4 hour drive from Long Island to Boston, and then sitting there for another 3.5 more hours for the game and then enjoying the win. That's ultimately that matters to me. Win or lose, I mean, we're members of the Bills Mafia. We travel well, and we tend to go to these games pretty lightly. And soon, obviously, we're going to be discussing the next team we're going to potentially talk about in the near future.
Yeah, 100% agree. And with that, what we'll do is, it's kind of surprising, we've already come to the end of our first half hour. So
yeah,
so
it went by fast.
Yeah, that did. But what we're going to do when we come up on the other side of our quick break here, we're going to talk about some football. We're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills clinching their playoff spot. A little bit of news about Franco Harris that came out earlier today. And, of course, we're going to talk about some other news around the NFL. So stay with us. We'll see you in just a few. Welcome to Buffalo After Dark, everybody. It's your Wednesday night uncensored, unfiltered, and unafraid sports show. You still up? This episode of Buffalo After Dark starts now. All right, welcome back to the second half of Buffalo After Dark. It is our Christmas special. If you want to jump on, 929-20... Oh, whatever the hell the phone number is. Like, totally just... just totally
are you fumbling there, Tom?
Yeah, something like that. 929-205-6099. So there we go. Had a little bit of a... I don't know. I just totally went blank for a moment there. But anyways, welcome back. Of course, we have the Facebook Live chat going on. Bobby's wife has decided to join us.
Yep, I brought a friend. Say hi.
It's like in the way.
What is?
This.
That's my microphone.
I can see that, but it's in the way.
We're okay.
I gotta say, this beer is actually pretty good.
Yeah, better?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brittany says hi, guys.
Yes. Hi. Hey.
Yeah.
So, what we wanted to do, we'll kick off the second half hour. We did have some breaking news earlier today, and sad news in the NFL. So former Pittsburgh Steelers running back Franco Harris passed away, and he is known for for the Immaculate Reception, which is considered to be one of the most famous plays of all time in the NFL.
Yep. And it's sad, too, when you think about it, because he was just about to have his jersey retired in 3 days, and he ends up dying. It's like, peace out, guys.
Yeah. I mean, he absolutely deserved to be in the Hall of Fame, which he ended up getting into there, which was great. And with that, he having been in Pittsburgh and having had an apartment for a short time in Pittsburgh, I mean, he's the Jim Kelly of Pittsburgh. Everyone loves him down there. I mean, that's just really one of the big ways to put it. And what ended up happening in that play, so the Immaculate Reception happened on December 23rd, 1972, and the Steelers were trailing on 4th down with 22 seconds left. Terry Bradshaw, who was the QB at the time, ended up throwing a pass to, he was targeting John Fuqua, but it either bounced off the helmet of the Raiders safety Jack Tatum or Fuqua's hands, and Franco Harris actually caught it just before it would hit the ground, and he ended up running it back for a touchdown. And a lot of people say it's a controversial play, and there's a lot of speculation ever since, because a lot of people thought that the ball only touched Fuqua and it hit the ground before Harris caught it. But either would have been considered an incomplete pass if that was the case. But in either case, though, NFL Films chose it as the greatest play of all time, and it's also considered the most controversial play of all time. So it's one of those where it was a big turning point for the Steelers, and it reversed their 4 decades of crap, and they got their first playoff win ever, and they went on to win 4 Super Bowls after that. So definitely a lot of fame from that play. But on another note, though, I mean, Franco Harris was known to do a lot of good things in the Pittsburgh area, very active with a lot of the different charity works down there, and did a lot of good things. And plus, he was still close with the Steelers organization as well. And so definitely, we want to pay our respects to him, and wish if any one of his family's watching, we all wish them well.
Absolutely. May rest in peace, though, for sure.
Yep.
But let's get to the good stuff with the Bills, because I know Brett's got a lot to say.
Yes. So the Bills have clinched a playoff spot. They are in the playoffs for the 4th straight year. They end up winning against the Miami Dolphins 32-29, and thank you to the weather gods for making it snow late in the 4th quarter.
On the 8th day, God created the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, and thank God for Tyler Bass, because he has turned out to be one of the most clutch kickers in the NFL.
Yep, and I know this one is like a big fan of Tyler Bass's.
He saved our butt quite a few times this year with those game-winning kicks. More than I would like.
And that's it? So explain us to what your hat is all about. Like, that's what I want to know.
It's the Bills Santa hat.
Is the Bills Santa hat.
Very
And
nice.
I do plan to wear that on Christmas Eve for the Bills game. I am excited to do that. And yeah, it's going to be a fun time for sure.
Very cool. Yeah, a lot of great things in that game. But one of the plays that stood out, remember that 2-point conversion that a lot of the Dolphins fans are so butthurt about?
Yes.
Where Allen breaks the plane, and they were saying,
Yes.
oh no, he didn't break the plane, and then he ended up fumbling. But yet, anytime the ball breaks the plane, regardless of what happens after that, it's still good.
They have no other argument because they know that they're shit, and they know that game back in September was a fluke.
Well, with that play, It's like as soon as it happened, and as soon as the ball's kicked like 30 yards away, it goes right to commercial break. So we all of a sudden it comes back and they're saying after review, we're like, what was being reviewed? And they're like, the 2-point conversion was good. So it was just a shock coming off commercial break, and then here the 2-point conversion actually ends up being good and successful.
Yeah.
So that was just a shock.
Yeah. Remember that remember in the movie The Little Rascals, Tom, with the race with Alfalfa?
Mm-hmm.
You remember where his hit when they say win it by a hair?
Oh yeah.
In that one picture in the movie?
Mm-hmm.
That was Josh Allen in that nutshell.
Oh
he
yeah.
He gets a one small piece of his head past the goal line, and it counts. And that was just miraculous on its own, honestly. But at the end of the day, the Bills are now up 3 games in the division ahead of Miami and the Jets and the Pats. This is Buffalo's for the take. You know, the AFC East is basically theirs. All they have
to win and beat Chicago.
Yep, that's all they have to do. All they have to do is just beat the Bears, and then the AFC East is theirs for the 3rd straight year.
Yep. Yeah, and actually that play where Josh Allen gets a 2-point conversion, it actually reminds me back when LaDainian Tomlinson was in the league and he was playing, and it reminds me of that one play where he just barely, and this was reviewed so many times, it reminds me of that one play where he ends up like holding the ball out like this, just barely breaks the plane before he gets knocked backwards.
Mm-hmm. It's very similar in a way.
Yeah.
But another controversial thing that happened at the game, and a lot of Dolphins fans were really bitter about, were the snowballs.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
It wasn't cold enough for them.
No, it wasn't. I wish it was colder.
Yeah. And
Hey,
and yet they're all butthurt for snow.
Yep.
Yeah, but what did you read?
What did I read?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom, remind me who this is, because I've never heard of him before. Let me find the picture. Here it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's from John Perry. You know who that is?
I haven't really heard of him.
Okay, so he's apparently the officiating analyst for ESPN. And this was linked up on the Facebook channel for the Buffalo News. And remember the incident with Mike McDaniel, where he goes up to the ref and he says, "Can you just make an announcement on the loudspeaker and say, stop throwing snowballs onto the field?"
Yeah, I do remember.
And the ref came out of nowhere and had to come up with some bullshit excuse by saying, "If you throw snowballs again, you will be rejected from the game and you will be prosecuted." Oh, and a 15-yard penalty to Buffalo. You remember that?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, there's nothing in the rule book about snowballs.
Bingo. Because I just found out this, too. And I'm reading this, by the way, in quote. "There is no rule that addresses penalties being assessed to a team based on their fans' actions."
Right. Exactly.
So in other words, they
bended the rules.
Yeah, they bended the rules and they made some shit up. It's basically what they did. And you know what this reminds me of, Tom? Brittany will know this, but Tom, you know what this reminds me of? Remember in that classic Game 2 semifinal series in 2009 with the Penguins and the Capitals, where Crosby and Ovechkin each scored a hat trick? Mm-hmm. Remember that game?
Yeah.
When Ovechkin scored a hat trick and Crosby goes over to the ref and he says, I basically said to the ref, "Can you just go on the loudspeaker and just tell fans to stop throwing hats onto the ice?" Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That's what this reminded me of.
Yeah. It's like, hey, snow happens here. Sorry, Dolphins fans.
Yeah, and Dolphins fans also had the audacity to say that we were classless. Like, really being classless? Is that what you want to do? These assholes were talking about how we had no excuses. We're a Super Bowl contender. You lost by 2 points in a 120-degree Miami heat, and then all of a sudden, now you think you're the shit.
Yeah, seriously. And look at how Miami's played lately. They have been playing like crap lately because they went on that losing streak, and now they're what, 8-6?
8-6, and they have the Packers coming to town.
They have no excuse.
Nope.
Right.
They just been losing games.
Yep, and they used excuses for why they lost, and it was because it was snowing and there were injuries. I'm like, suck it up. You said the same thing to us back in September.
Oh yeah, and of course they purposely designed when they put that canopy over at whatever that stadium's now called, I think Hard Rock Stadium. It's one of those, they purposely designed it where the visitor sideline is going to be about 30 degrees warmer than what the Dolphins have, and they don't allow any, and they typically don't use like any air conditioning or anything like that on their sideline, so they basically make all the other teams suffer.
Well, that's what Dolphins fans are saying that it's not fair that the Bills should have a dome over their new stadium for this inclement weather that Buffalo usually gets, snow. So the argument is, so we have to get rid of our home field advantage, but yet for safety for players, but yet they can have it to be 120 plus degrees humidity on visitor sidelines, and that's not a safety condition concern.
Yeah.
So it's twofold here. You can't have it both ways.
Right. And look back when Miami played the Vikings in Miami, where the same problem happened with the Vikings, where it was like over 120 degrees on the sideline, and that was one of the biggest things they were showing. It was actually a Fox Sports game where it was like 120 or like 122 on the sideline for the Vikings, and it was like 80 degrees on the Miami side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. The bottom line is Dolphins fans alone just need to shut the fuck up and keep their foot in their mouth, because half of what they say are so bitter about that game. They were really confident too that they were going to sweep the Bills. I'm like, yeah, Dolphins fans are now also convinced because they lost by a field goal. They're now convinced that they're right up there with the Bills.
They're not up there. I mean, yeah, they have a good wide receiver tandem with Tyreek Hill and of course Jalen Waddle, but I mean, they have a pretty decent run game, and they can do a couple of things there, but their tight ends are suspect. I mean, the rest of their defensive line is suspect. They haven't really proven much, and of course they got killed by the 49ers. Let's not forget that game. They got absolutely destroyed by San Francisco.
So put it this way, they lose to a really good 49ers team, both offensively and defensively, and they lost to the goddamn Chargers practice squad on their secondary.
Yeah.
That's on prime time. That's embarrassing. Yep. And you lose to the Bills in the snow, and yet you were bragging all game. Oh, there's no snow, this and that. Yeah.
And it wasn't even snow till the end of the fourth quarter, and they just totally collapsed.
Like, thanks, Mother Nature.
Yeah, exactly.
Like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ever since all it took was one piece of snow, and then the game falls like that, and the Dolphins just completely lost all of their momentum from that game, because they were killing the Bills secondary in the third quarter.
Oh yeah, I mean, they were running the ball right down everybody's throat. But once the snow started coming around, look at what happened. Tua couldn't throw. He couldn't do anything with it. He had no long ball. Everyone knows he can't throw long. And then, of course, how about that play towards the end of the game when Singletary decides to be smart, go down inside the 5, and then Josh Allen kneels down so this way we can run the clock down to like 2 seconds. And the Dolphins fans were all butthurt about it because we were actually doing something smart that they didn't do, and that's clock management. But even funnier, though, and I'm not sure if you caught this, but Mark Sanchez, who was the analyst for that game on NFL Network, he ends up saying, you got to go in and score. It's like, why would you go in, score 7, and give Miami all that time on the clock to actually have the possibility of running?
I'm not taking advice from somebody who made the butt fumble. No, thank you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, exactly what Tom said. I pointed it out to Bobby. I'm like, he purposely went down. He did a look over at the sideline, and he purposely went down because he could have easily made that touchdown.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
And I said,
and I'm like, they're doing it to run the clock out. They're giving Miami no chance to come.
Because they ran out like 30 plus seconds off of that play.
Yeah.
And that was perfect. They needed to do that.
I think the Bills have learned from their mistakes the last few years from that. I mean, they learned a lot from the Hail Mary. They learned a lot from the Vikings game this year, and they lost in the playoffs last year to Kansas City. They learned what not to do in a playoff game. So now that they took all their lessons and they used it against the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, and the Dolphins fans are butthurt, which is absolutely awesome to see that. And hey, as much as we love the tailgate and everything, at least we're not putting a gas grill underneath a damn car in Miami like what happened during our game earlier in the season where we had there was 17 cars. Remember, there was like 17 cars that blew up in the parking lot because some dumbass decided to put a portable grill underneath.
Yeah, did you hear about that story?
I did, yeah.
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
They were showing it on the Jumbotron on the inside of the stadium during halftime.
Is this your car?
Oh God.
Oh Jesus. Hey,
thank God that's not our car.
Right. Yeah. Hey, when we went to Kansas City in October, we were smart. We had it like far enough in the next spot across.
Yeah, we even dumped water on it just to be sure.
Yeah, and we kept it like
over.
away from the car because it was not our car.
God damn.
Oh man, I do miss that Ford Explorer though. That was a pretty sweet road rig.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But the Dolphins this year alone, they're very like this. They're very up and down.
I think they were hyped up so much the first half, and then what everybody else that's not a Dolphins fans predicted happened, that they just collapsed after their bye.
Yeah.
And it shows. It proves what at least I've said before the season started, that you can give Tua all these weapons, but it doesn't change him as a quarterback. He still can't throw. He still can't make these big plays like these other top 10 quarterbacks can do. And you can give him the talent, and he just can't do it. And it's starting to show.
It really says a lot when Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, is better than Tua, and he's only played football for 2 weeks.
Yeah, seriously. And Purdy's actually going to make a very interesting offseason for the 49ers because, of course, with Jimmy G being hurt, with Trey Lance being hurt, and now you have Mr. Irrelevant here, that's going to make a very interesting QB conversation. That's going to be one I'm looking forward to see what plays out of it. But to give an idea of like how bad Miami's been lately, of course, like you mentioned, they lose to the Chargers, they lose to the 49ers, they end up basically barely beating the Bears. They only won by 3. They barely won against Detroit. It was a 31-27 win. I mean, the Steelers didn't play well, but Miami only won by 6. And of course, they got killed by the Dolphins. Well, they got killed by the Vikings.
Yeah, the Dolphins are frauds.
Yeah, and they got killed by the New York Jets, 40-17 on October 9th.
But in their defense, though, they didn't have Tua, and Teddy Bridgewater also got hurt.
But yet Miami wants to make excuses for us. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and somehow Dolphins fans have the audacity to say they barely lost to the Jets. I'm like, dude, you got blown out.
Yeah, and it wasn't definitely not even close. That was basically like a 23-point game.
You know what it is? Dolphins fans are the most arrogant fan base in this division, next to New England or the Jets. I don't know who's the most arrogant between Jets, Patriots, or Dolphins. I mean, Bills fans can be arrogant, but they don't show it off.
No. Dolphins fans thought Tyreek Hill was going to be their savior, and see how it is. Tyreek Hill by himself is an amazing elite player. When he was with Patrick Mahomes, you have another one. He's an amazing elite quarterback. Put them together, they're dynamic. You can take Tyreek away from Mahomes, and Mahomes has proven he's still the same quarterback. You could put Tyreek Hill with any team, he's still going to be the elite receiver. But Tua brings him down a level because Tua was not on that same playing field as Mahomes. And so people thought he was going to elevate Tua, which I guess he did to an extent, but still not to that high elite level where Mahomes is now without Tyreek.
Yeah. Geno Smith just made the Pro Bowl.
Wow. Okay. So let's let's jump into some NFL news because that was one of the things you wanted to talk about, the Pro Bowl, and several Bills have made the Pro Bowl.
Yep. And the names that we have going to the Pro Bowl are Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Jordan Poyer, and Mitch Morse to represent the Buffalo Bills in the 2023 Pro Bowl in Las Vegas.
Well done. Well done, guys.
Well, I have a question. Can you check for us if Mac Jones made the Pro Bowl?
I doubt it. I can definitely see.
After that shit show from last week.
Oh, God. I remember watching that. That was brutal.
The memes are relentless.
Oh, so get this. So here's the thing. Mac Jones, who is completely irrelevant, he actually was named to the Pro Bowl for 2022.
That hasn't been before Sunday.
Oh, wait. No, this was January 30th, 2022. Oh, okay. So that's last year.
What about this year?
Let's see.
Hey, I have the list up.
Quarterbacks?
I'm looking for quarterbacks. No, it's Jalen Hurts, Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow as quarterbacks.
There you go. Well, at least Mac Jones ain't in there.
Oh, God. Unless Josh Allen says, no, I'm not going to the Pro Bowl again, then Mac Jones will go. But, dude, Mac Jones has been completely memed to the ground. He's so embarrassing as a player that he ended up bradying after they blew it to the Raiders.
And here's one thing I will blame. Well, one, Mac Jones just sucks. He's basically worse than Tua, if we can say that. But here's the other thing, too. Why on earth Bill Belichick named Matt Patricia the offensive coordinator when he has never been anywhere on an offensive side of the ball? And he's still going through it? It's like, Belichick, what are you thinking?
Honestly, I don't know what they were thinking.
That's like Rex Ryan when he switched us to a 3-4 defense after we had Jim Schwartz in the 4-3, and look where that got us.
Yeah, but consider this, though. Ramondre Stevenson, when he had the ball, I figured, time's running out, whatever. If he ran out of bounds, it would have been perfectly fine, and they probably would have lost in the most honest way possible. But no, they decided to just give up in the middle of the fucking play, and you have Jacoby Myers looking around saying, oh, Mac Jones is wide open, not realizing that Chandler Jones was wide open.
Jones caught the ball.
And he stiff arms Mac Jones and runs right in for 6.
What the fuck was they thinking? And then I was like, the first time I saw that, I didn't know who got stiff armed because she said, "Oh,
I didn't either. I didn't see the number or the name."
Oh no! And the price and her reaction when she found out it was Mac Jones was priceless. She was like,
"Because I thought it was funny no matter who got stiffed arms, just the whole play that happened, and then it just made it so much better that it was Mac Jones."
And she was like, and she was like yelling at the TV. She's like, "What? That was Mac Jones?"
And that wasn't just like
Mac Jones.
And that wasn't a weak stiff arm. That was a straight up, you're on the ground.
No, Mac Jones got friggin' ran over.
Exactly.
He got friggin' totaled. Like, what the hell were they thinking? I don't know what's more laughable. The fact that the Dolphins fans were whining or the fact the Patriots just committed lolcow of the week. Oh, no. Let's go back a little further. How about when the Colts were up by 33 points
and they blow the lead to the Vikings? And the Vikings has the greatest comeback ever in NFL history.
How do you do it?
It was a very weird weekend in the football world.
Yeah. I mean, the way that Minnesota came back, that's even better than when we came back to get in the playoffs against the Houston Oilers way back in the 90s.
Like, what the hell? How did Indianapolis blow a 33-point lead in the first half? Or in the second half, excuse me.
That was just straight up brutal. And I will say this. Kirk Cousins has done some good stuff with the Vikings, and then Justin Jefferson has been a great addition to the Vikings. I still think, though, Minnesota is a little overrated. But they really have come a long way, though, from where they were a few years ago.
Because Justin Jefferson has been carrying their team.
Well, yeah. I mean, their run game isn't all... Well, their run game's actually not that bad. I mean, Dalvin Cook's a great running back, but other than that, they only have, 2 weapons on offense.
Yeah, and then they have T.J. Hawkinson to go with that, too, so that's, 3. You have Jefferson, Hawkinson, and Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. Other than that, their defense isn't all that great either.
No. I mean, I just find it extremely embarrassing that the Minnesota Vikings had to come back in convincing fashion to beat the Indianapolis Colts. How about the Texans forcing the Chiefs to go to overtime? That was that's concerning if I'm a Chiefs fan.
That's a game that Kansas City should have dominated right off the start, especially on a 1-15 team. I mean, come on.
And it was a close game the entire time too.
Yeah, it was less than a 7-point lead at halftime.
Yeah, and they're not beating the Tennessee Titans on Saturday. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, Tennessee, one of the most physical teams in the league.
Oh, yeah, far from it. But all I'm saying is that, this season alone, it's just going to be, really interesting as it is. You know what I mean? I can't even put my foot around my head in this case. Even if I took my right foot and I wrapped it around my face, I still wouldn't give you a better description about, what happened over the weekend.
Because the playoff standings change after every single game.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of close ones, and here's what we know so far about the playoffs. I mean, and we'll get into some final thoughts after, but right now we know the LA Rams are definitely not going back to the playoffs this year. They're already out.
Definitely not.
Texans are definitely out. The Broncos are out. Chicago's out, and Arizona is not even close this year. They're already eliminated. So it's and to see if their coach actually has a job after this year, that'll be interesting to see, because I think Kingsbury is definitely overrated, and Kyler Murray is definitely overrated. So that'll be interesting there. But we do know the teams that have clinched. Of course, the Eagles, the Chiefs have clinched the AFC West. Right now, the Bills have clinched a playoff spot, but they can clinch the AFC East if they win with against Chicago. The Vikings have clinched, the Dallas Cowboys have clinched, and San Fran is clinched in the NFC. So it's we already know that's going on, but a lot of teams still in the hunt, and a couple of the teams that stand out that sentimentally I want to see get in. I want to see the Lions make the playoffs, I think
everybody's rooting for the Lions.
Yeah. And I will say, Dan Campbell has really turned that team around. He really has turned it around. And yes, he got rid of some of the coaching staff that he needed to. He made some changes mid-season. 6-game winning streak. I mean, the Lions are playing the best I've seen them play probably in 10 years.
You know what? Because of that, too, I have another hot take. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars win the AFC South and make the playoffs over the Tennessee Titans.
Ooh.
You have to win like every game.
That's exactly the point.
Well, if somehow the Titans lose to the Texans this weekend.
Well, I mean, if they lose to the Texans, it's going to be harder. I mean, if it's not the case, then I could definitely see them jumping ahead of the Dolphins.
Yeah.
I mean, who the hell knows? But again, it's going to be harder for Jacksonville based on their record at, 6-8?
Yep.
But it would make this better if they beat the Jets tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
That would be really fun.
Definitely. And then who would have thought that Seattle would still be in the mix with Geno Smith? I mean, that team, they're playing hard, and they're not exactly losing like really badly either. It's pretty close, like the times that they have lost. But Geno Smith's been playing pretty well. They have some good weapons. They're not as talented of a team as they used to be, but Geno Smith has found ways to win in a lot of cases. So that's been one of the surprises out west. And then even looking at it, who would have thought Carolina would still be in the mix? That team has really changed around ever since they got rid of Matt Rule as the coach.
Oh, God, yeah. What were you going to say? You were going to say something.
Oh, that the Seahawks, they were able to score some pretty decent points against 49ers last week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was late in the fourth quarter? Something like that.
I don't remember when it was.
Yeah. But no, these next 3 weeks are going to tell or defy a team. I could definitely see the Jets missing the playoffs again because their schedule is not in their favor. They got to play Jacksonville, who's been red hot. They got to play Seattle, who's trying to get into the playoffs. And they have the Dolphins in the season finale. So if both the Jets and Miami have the same record towards the end of the weekend by that point, then it's going to come down to the wire between those two teams. And in fact, I wouldn't be shocked if that game got flexed to primetime.
It very well could. And I mean, right now, I would say if it comes down to any tiebreaker, I'd have to say it goes in Miami's favor, but I will give the Jets credit on one thing though. Their head coach Robert Saleh has really turned around that team in a lot of ways. And he did so pretty quick.
Yeah, I don't see I give you credit for that too as far as the defense goes. But I still think they're the same old Jets because Robert Saleh still makes those stupid coaching rookie decisions. And he should know better by now not to, have 3 timeouts when you're in a critical situation and just hold on to them for the sake of it. The Jets had all the time in the world last week and they just completely blew it.
Yeah. And here's a hot take. Mike White is the guy I would want going forward.
Yeah, I would say
over Zach Wilson, 100%.
Yeah, I agree with that. Mike White, I think, is a much better quarterback than Zach Wilson. I actually read a report or a rumor that said the Buccaneers or the Vikings were going to go after Zach Wilson in a trade, and I'm like, I don't know if that's going to happen. I just don't see it happening by any means. But no, these next 3 weeks are going to also include who's for real and who's frauds. I can already tell you, not even halfway through, the Dolphins are the biggest frauds. going into the hunt. They could still make the playoffs. I mean, it's definitely possible where they are, but I think the Chargers right now have the easiest path of everyone right now because Green Bay could very well beat, the Dolphins in Miami on Christmas Day.
Yeah, and I will say their interim coach for the Panthers, make him the head coach already. He has really got that team buying in.
No, do not make Steve Wilkes the coach because he's the one that was coaching the Cardinals when Josh Rosen was drafted by the Cardinals, and they were horrendous. He got fired after 1 year with the Cardinals.
And actually, speaking of Josh Rosen, he's back on the team.
How does he keep getting hired?
I know, right?
How many teams has he been on?
Let's think. Like, help me out with this, Tom.
Minnesota.
No. Let's go back in the beginning. You have Arizona.
Yep.
Traded to Miami.
Yep.
Went to Atlanta. He went to Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
He went to San Francisco.
Yep.
And then Minnesota.
6 teams in 5 years.
Oh, I forgot one more. The Buccaneers.
Okay, so 7 teams in 5 years. He got drafted the same year that Josh Allen was drafted, and everyone thought that Josh Rosen was the most NFL-ready quarterback.
Even me. I even said Josh Rosen.
We went at it a little bit, too. And Josh Rosen hasn't proven a damn thing.
No. Oh, yeah, and he played for the Browns. I forgot about that. That's
You said that.
I did.
He's at Cleveland.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So 7 teams in 5 years. That's pathetic.
Yeah, and he's definitely a journeyman.
Yep.
Just put him in the XFL already. I think he'll get it. I think he'd be a star quarterback in the XFL.
Yeah, he seriously could be. I mean, I don't think he's NFL material at this point.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. And one other thing, too, we should mention for Saturday on Christmas Eve, the Bills play the Chicago Bears, and the weather is supposed to be absolutely brutal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's actually going to be one of those things, and I'm glad you bring that up, is one of the other points here to talk about, because basically with what they're expecting in Chicago, it is going to be like literally stepping into a freezer.
And you know what? The Bills are designed to play in this weather.
Very true.
They're used to this. They play in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
That's one of the coolest stadiums in the NFL.
Right. Yeah, and here's the weather forecast for Chicago. It's going to be cloudy with blowing and drifting snow with a temperature at 12 degrees, but it's supposed to be feeling like minus 13. And then there's supposed to be at least a 20-mile-an-hour wind, but gusts up to 37. Of course, it can still change before game time, but feeling like negative 13, we're built for that.
Yeah, I think they'll beat the Bears. And another thing I must mention is I read a statistic on Buffalo Fanatics, and side-by-side stats, by the way, I have right here, for the Bills and the Bears, from Buffalo Fanatics, from offense to rushing. Mm-hmm. On the offensive side of the ball, the Bills have the number 2 ranked offense in the NFL. The Bears, 23rd best. And then on defense, the Bills have the 9th best defense in the NFL. The Bears, 22. And then in passing, the Bills are 5th in passing in the NFL. They're a high-scoring team in the NFL in passing. The Bears, dead last. And then the biggest attribute here is this. The Bills are 8th in rushing in the NFL. Surprising. I thought they'd be like 17th or 18th. Mm-hmm. And then first overall, the Chicago Bears. But taking into account, Justin Fields is the entire offense.
Yeah. And Fields is actually having some pretty good flashes this year, but it's just the cast around him is not that great.
No, and he has to carry the team by himself. Philadelphia had a really...
equivalent to Lamar Jackson. He's like the most like rushing yards for that offense as well.
Yeah, Lamar's in a whole different situation though, because Lamar Jackson at least has weapons, but he doesn't use them. Justin Fields has like no weapons at all.
Yeah, and the Bears management refuses to get him any weapons. That's the problem. I mean, Fields could do so much more if he actually had like a good team around him, and for some reason the Chicago Bears management just refused to give him weapons. And Fields is not a bad player. He's shown some good flashes despite there being no team around him.
Absolutely. And you know what? It wouldn't shock me either if, by year 3 next year, he becomes a budding superstar in the NFL. It wouldn't shock me.
It very well could happen.
But again, the Bears going into the offseason have all the money in the world. They can go out and spend whoever they want.
Yeah, very true. And then even thinking about Kenny Pickett's situation, I mean, yeah, he's got that whole concussion thing again, but I mean, the Steelers haven't done much to really surround him either, and look at their situation. I mean, they're going to probably miss the playoffs.
Yeah. but he's gonna play.
Is that like his second or third game with concussion?
Second. Yeah, I think he had one in October. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, he did because Trubisky had to come in and come off the bench.
Yeah. So bottom line is, it's going to be cold on Saturday for Christmas Eve at Soldier Field, and I think I think this is the one game out of the last three I am the most confident they're going to win. I definitely don't. I will definitely not take the Bears lightly, in spite of their record at 3-11, because any given Sunday, that's the matter. You know, that's the motto that goes into it. But the Bears, I think they have a good team. They're a pretty solid defensive team, but the problem is they traded it.
Yeah.
Think about it. They traded Roquan Smith and they traded Robert Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, Robert Quinn. Sorry. Not Robert Smith. Robert Quinn. That's what I meant to say.
And they really didn't get much in return, and that's the problem. I mean, they really didn't build off of it.
Yeah. And Roquan Smith had the audacity to say, oh, you know, the Bears didn't treat me lightly. I wanted to stay in Chicago. I'm like, dude, stop crying. You're on the fucking Ravens. Give me a break.
Yeah, that's actually only a slightly better situation.
And if
Not by
anything,
much.
he was the last person he should be complaining about. And even by that point, the Ravens are done, in my opinion. They're absolutely done.
Yeah.
They could be 9-4 all they want, but I don't think they're going to be getting very far in the playoffs.
Yeah, I very much doubt it. I very much doubt it with the way that they're set
Because
up
even
right
if
now.
Lamar comes back, you know, Devin Duvernay is done for the year. Mark Andrews sucks now. There's a lot
J.K.
that.
Dobbins has had ups and downs this season. I mean,
Yeah, he's been like that since he came in the NFL. So the bottom line is that, unfortunately, you know, there are some teams that have to be taken into consideration. But the Bears, though, Justin Fields, if the Bills are going to beat them, they have to stop the run game. They have to contain Justin Fields and force him out of the pocket. You know, he could scramble, but they have to stop the run.
yeah. Yeah, very, very good point there. So what we'll do, since we've gone the full hour, let's just wrap it up with a couple Christmas things here. And of course, one of the things we do want to say to everybody, it's always nice to be able to put this on every week. And now it's our third season. We're actually about halfway through our third season already, and it's pretty cool that we get a bunch of people to watch us, whether it's here live on Facebook or the YouTube feed, and we appreciate that. So of course, we want to wish all of you a very happy holiday, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Definitely be safe, especially with the storm coming up this weekend. And we appreciate you tuning into us every week. It's one of those things, we enjoy it. We don't get paid to do it. We just do it because we enjoy it, and that's the fun thing. And of course, we're not paid to make an opinion. We just say what we feel, and you can like it. You don't have to like it, but it is what we think. And we appreciate you letting us do that every week.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I just want to say, Merry Christmas to Happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate. Happy New Year from all of us here at Buffalo After Dark. And Merry Christmas to you guys. From my wife and I, we just want to say that. And, have a happy and safe and healthy holiday. And God bless you guys. And we'll see you in 2023.
Yep.
That's the best way we could do it. And hopefully the Bills win out in the next 2 games because they need them.
Yep. For sure, and likewise too. Me and my girlfriend, we wish you guys all the best this holiday season as well. And then I'm going to be looking at probably coming down to Long Island in March at some point. So I'll talk to you about that. As we get a little bit closer. But same thing. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And with that, we're gonna be gone. We're gonna be gone until the New Year. So basically, with that, of course, no show next week because it is Christmas. So we'll be off the 28th, and basically with the New Year. So we'll actually be coming back to you guys on January 11th, unless something else breaks sooner than that. So you never know. But definitely to everybody in the Buffalo area, stay safe, especially Friday, Saturday. It's gonna be a nasty storm that's coming through. So of course. I would just say, if you need to get ready for anything, do so now. I was at the store earlier, and it was packed as all hell, so everyone's buying up everything. So, take some time, just make sure you've got everything taken care of, and in the meantime, hey, you can always binge watch our episodes. We've only got 113 of them.
Yeah.
That you can go through.
That'll take you 3 weeks to finish.
Yeah, especially our older stuff, which sometimes went 4 hours long a piece.
Basically, yeah.
Man,
at that point.
That was like late night Saturday night shows we did back in the day.
Oh hell yeah! That was like the original Buffalo After Dark, but we've changed our format over time.
Yeah, wasn't our longest one like 4.5 hours or something we did?
Oh dear God, that was our first season.
Yeah, I remember that. It's like a Saturday night, and I don't think we were done till almost like 2 o'clock in the morning or something.
Yeah, never again. Never again.
I was say, I think the longest we've gone out of anything this season is maybe closer to 90 minutes, and that's actually not bad. So,
I don't know.
Unless it's our draft special, then we usually go at least a couple hours. But
yeah, most of the time.
Yeah, but good old memories, man. But in the meantime, Merry Christmas to you guys, and and thanks for watching us. And until we see you in the new year, everybody, take care of yourselves and each other. Enjoy your holiday.
Merry Christmas, Tom.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Buffalo After Dark is an H&H Studio production and is produced in partnership with Horns & Hooves Entertainment.